anyone do this?
Do what? Bring back the Horror of the Undead? Or remake one of the biggest arcade lightgun shooters from your childhood? But as nostalgic as it sounds, something tells me that this remake should have stayed in the arcades. Team up with your buddy and fend off the Horror of the Undead once again as either James Taylor or Gary Stewart, two secret agents who must survive a massive undead outbreak and stop the evil mastermind behind it. Seems like a pretty straightforward premise, right? House of the Dead 2 doesn't shy away from its arcade roots. In fact, it wears some proudly, for better, and sadly, for worse. On one hand, if you grew up going to arcades or hanged out at Dave & Buster's, then you should be pretty familiar with what you're getting yourself into. Shoot whatever zombie's in your way, preferably before it eats you, and try to rack up the highest score. On the other hand, if arcade light gun shooters aren't really your thing, then you're gonna have an extremely hard time getting into this style of gameplay, or the laughably so bad it's good B-movie voice acting that the series is kinda known for. There's no open world exploration, or upgrade trees, or even any diverse amounts of customization options. It's a classic on-the-rails arcade shooter that's all about getting the high score. Everything from what you encounter to even when you encounter them is predetermined. Sure, you can discover a secret alternate route here and there, but doesn't feel or often look as different from the normal route. It wouldn't be that much of an issue if you don't factor in how they somehow made the controls feel even clunkier than a controller made out of concrete. It was a little less clunky on the PC version, but on the Switch, however, I needed to drastically adjust the sensitivities on my Joy-Cons so I wasn't seeing the game over screen on almost every encounter. Worse, there are times when the game would load in with no sound or unresponsive controls. But once you get into a group of things, you start to kind of enjoy what House of the Dead has to offer. What kept me going, funny enough, was just how comically interesting the voice acting and dialogue was. The original definitely raised a few eyebrows of just how bad the voice acting was, and it only got more questionable as the series went on. But thankfully, the remake keeps up this bizarre but yet funny trend. It's a special kind of B-movie charm that really loops back around and becomes comically entertaining, no matter how many times it sounded like they were reading straight from a cue card 80 miles away. After your first playthrough, it starts to wear a little thin, which won't take long given how short House of the Dead 2 is. I get that for most arcade games of that era, this will be considered a decent length to score the most tokens out of you. But for a console port remake, however, it makes us begging for more. Sure, you can go back to see if you can save all civilians, or try to beat your last score, or even try the arcade mode, but it's really all the same and it doesn't really offer anything different. It's a good time killer if you remember the original, or a neat couch co-op game that you can play with your friends. But honestly, not much else. The fun yet flawed retro charm can only go so far. Still, if you grew up playing these types of games in the arcade, then switch on that music to classic original and take a trip down memory lane. For everyone else, however, it's probably not worth the $20 price tag. But if it ever gets on sale, or gets ported to the Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation catalog, it's definitely worth a try. House of the Dead 2 Remake managed to shoot itself a 4 out of 10.